You know, there's probably an area in your life right now where you're telling yourself you're stuck. Maybe it's your career, your health, your finances. Maybe you've got a business you want to start. Maybe you've got a conversation that you know you got to have, right? Or maybe it's simply the feeling that you were built for something more than the life you are currently living. That's with a lot of us, right? We know there's more, but we feel like we're stuck, right? You tell yourself you need clarity. You got to have a better plan, more information. You need the right person to come along. You got to feel more confident. But what if you're not stuck? What if you already know what you need to do? And the real problem is that you do not like what the decision is going to require from you, right? You don't like the action that's got to take place. That's what we're talking about today, because sometimes confusion is real, but sometimes confusion is simply the story we tell ourselves when we're not yet willing to pay the price of the answer. You're not always stuck. You're not. Sometimes you're standing directly in front of a decision and you're refusing to make it. There's a major difference between not knowing what to do and not wanting to do what you know needs to be done. I've lived that. Most of us have experienced both, right? Most of us have. And there are times when we truly do not know the answer. We need advice. We need information. We've got to slow down and think. But there are other times when the answer is already there and we just do not like it. We know we got to get healthier, right? Some of us, we know we got to get healthier. But we don't want to change our habits or how we eat. We know that there's a relationship that probably needs to be repaired, but we do not want to be the first person to apologize. We know there may be a toxic relationship, a work environment, and we need to leave that. But we don't want to give up the security. Some of you know you need to start a business, write a book, record a podcast, make a call. But taking action means that you may risk rejection. It would mean becoming uncomfortable. It also means losing our excuses, right? Excuses are a funny thing to me, right? We complain about them all the time, right? Oh, that's just another excuse they're making. But sometimes we also become very, very attached to them. Because as long as you have or I have an excuse, I don't have to find out whether or not I'm capable. As long as I'm still planning, I do not have to risk failing. As long as I'm still waiting for clarity, I don't have to make a decision. And that can feel safe. But it's not safe. It's expensive. Indecision has a cost. It costs time, opportunity, energy. It costs confidence. And eventually it can cost you the version of your life that you were supposed to build. Years ago, just hit me. I had a loan officer that worked for me, and I'm not making this up. It blew my mind, and I watched her do this for about 6 weeks. She'd come into the office on Monday, all happy in a good mood, and all day Monday and Tuesday, she built out her calendar for her calls to referral agents, what her schedule was going to be. She spent 2 of her 5 days, 16 of the 40 hours that she's working, she spent building out her calendar, planning. Making those calls are hard, right? You put yourself out for rejection, right? It's sales. It's sales. And as long as she had that in front of her, she felt busy, that she was doing something. But she was hiding. She was hiding. She was delaying the decision and the expense that I was just talking about with that, right? Think about the opportunities that were missed because she just didn't do it. I know something about delayed decisions, right? I do. There were areas of my own life where I knew exactly what I needed to change long before I actually changed them. I got a lot of things that come to mind, but my health is one of the examples, right? It's just one example. For years, I knew what I needed to do. And I did not need to go to Barnes & Noble and get another diet book or get one on Kindle so I could read it on the plane. I didn't need to watch other videos, podcasts, talk to trainers. I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I needed to start getting active more. I needed to change some habits. I was putting things into my body that were working against the life that I said I wanted. The problem for me was not the knowledge. The problem for you was not the knowledge. The problem was the decision. Because a real decision is more than just saying, I should probably do something. A real decision means something changes. It has evidence, right? It has evidence. It shows up on your calendar, in your habits, in your spending, in the conversations you're willing to have. It shows up in what you're willing to do and what you're willing to stop doing. That's a decision. August 31st, 2024, I made a decision. Not a suggestion, not a New Year's resolution, a decision. I was going to change my health. I was going to get control of my weight. I was going to start walking, get more active, become more disciplined. And after 30 years, I was going to stop using something that I loved. Over 3 decades, I'd been using smokeless tobacco, long cut wintergreen. Man, I loved it. I loved the smell of it. I loved the way it made me feel. That didn't happen. Me stopping didn't happen because I suddenly discovered some magic pill or secret piece of information. I had known for years, decades, that it needed to happen. What changed was that I stopped negotiating with the answer. That's what many of us are doing, right? We're negotiating with the answers that we already know are true. We ask ourselves whether there might be an easier way. We wonder if we can make the change without having discomfort. We want to receive reward without surrendering anything, but meaningful decisions, they always cost something, right? They always cost something. Choosing discipline, it may cost comfort. Choosing health, it costs certain habits. Choosing a new direction may cost the approval of people who prefer the old version of you. And I've lived that. Man, I've lived that. Choosing to build something meaningful may cost you evenings, weekends, money, pride, and security of knowing exactly what is going to happen. Every meaningful yes requires a no. Remember that. Every meaningful yes requires a no. When you say yes to your health, you got to say no to certain behaviors. No to tobacco. No to alcohol. When you say yes to your purpose, you must say no to certain distractions. When you say yes to a stronger relationship, sometimes you may have to say no to pride. If you're trying to build a business and you say, yes, I'm going to do that, you may have to say no to the belief that you must have everything perfectly figured out before you begin. That's where people get trapped. You know, we want to keep every option open. We want a new life without fully releasing the old one. Think about that. You want the new without releasing the old. We want to grow without changing. Success without sacrifice. Listen to what I'm getting ready to tell you. We want confidence before action. But confidence rarely, if ever, comes first. Confidence is usually the result of keeping promises to yourself, right? Keeping promises to yourself. You take that first step, you survive it. You learn. You take another step. You begin to trust yourself, and the confidence grows. So many people are just waiting to feel confident before making a decision, and that is backwards. Make the decision and take the action, and then allow the confidence to catch up. I talk about every morning getting up and getting clear, right? And the same thing with confidence is true with clarity. We've been taught to believe that we must have complete clarity before we begin. Most of the time, life doesn't work that way, right? It doesn't. Most of the time, you receive enough clarity just for the next step. And you take that step, and then the next part becomes visible, right? It's think about driving at night. Your headlights do not illuminate the entire journey. They show you enough to keep moving. You're not sitting in your driveway waiting for every mile between your house and your destination to become visible. You begin. You trust the next section of road will appear as you move forward. Life works much the same way. You may not know exactly how the next year is going to unfold, and you may not know every obstacle you're going to face. You may not know whether everyone will support you. You may not know whether the first attempt's going to work. Probably won't, right? You're going to have to improve and tweak. But what you do know, what you probably know, is the next honest step. That is the question I want you to ask yourself. I don't want you asking yourself, do I have everything figured out? Instead, ask yourself, do I know enough to take the next honest step? It could be picking up the phone and making a phone call, scheduling an appointment, apologizing. You're thinking about writing a book, write the first page, record your first video. Health, walk that first mile, throw away the tobacco, turn down the drink, hire a coach. I happen to know one. It doesn't have to be dramatic, folks, but it has to be honest. And sometimes the most important decision in your life does not look impressive to anybody else. It doesn't, and it may happen quietly. Maybe it's early in the morning when nobody is watching. It may happen when you decide you are finished lying to yourself, because that is really where the transformation begins. It begins when you tell yourself the truth, not the dramatic truth, not what you post on social media, because quite honestly, that's the world that we want other folks to think is real, the private truth. The truth about your habits, your efforts, your relationships. The truth about how you're spending your time, your finances, your business. The truth about what you say matters, and what your calendar proves actually matters. That kind of honesty can be painful. I mean, it really can. But at the same time, it's also very, very freeing. Because once you tell yourself your truth, you can stop wasting energy in protecting the excuse, right? You can stop pretending the problem is lack of information. You can stop looking for another answer when you already have one. Now, I need to make something really clear. This is not about acting recklessly. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow without a plan. It's not about ending relationships impulsively. Don't make a financial decision based on emotion, right? And do not say that I told you to do not, because you're missing my entire point. Wisdom does matter. Planning matters. Wise counsel matters. What I'm telling you is that there's also a point when planning becomes hiding, just like I was talking about with the loan officer, spending all her time planning to do the action without doing the action. That's hiding. That's hiding. There's a point when research becomes avoidance. There's a point when patience is actually fear, dressed up in responsible clothing. You have to be honest enough to know the difference. One way that you probably can recognize it is ask yourself how long you've been thinking about the same decision. Has it been a day, a month, a week, a year, 5 years? How long have you been thinking about this? How many times have you had the same internal conversation? I need to do this, right? How many journals have you written it in? How many podcasts you listen to? At some point, you're no longer gathering information. You're postponing responsibility. And you are hoping that life will make the decision for you. Quite honestly, life will, right? Life will. Think about it. Eventually, your health may force a decision. The company may force a decision. Your spouse may force a conversation. The market may force a change. Time may close the door. But when life makes a decision for you, you usually have fewer options. That is why making a decision, why you still have choices, is so important. I talk about it all the time. If you've ever heard me speak, that today you have hope, right? You're doing all this planning, all this thinking, you have hope. Don't wake up one day sitting in a rocking chair on the front porch and that hope is turned to regret. Do not wait until pain is your only remaining motivator. Don't wait till that financial situation becomes a crisis. That relationship is beyond repair. Don't wait until your body forces you to pay attention. And don't wait till the opportunity belongs to somebody else. You may still be able to act while you have strength, choices, and time. Use them. Use them. Here's the exercise, right? I want you to think about one area in your life that you feel stuck. Just one. Don't list out 15 things. In fact, pick out the one that immediately came to mind when I started this episode. And I got 4 questions I want you to ask yourself on this, right? Number 1, what decision have I already been avoiding? Don't overthink it. What is the answer you already know? What decision have I already been avoiding? Just write it down. Next, what will making that decision cost me? Be specific, right? Is it going to cost you money, comfort, time, approval of others, your security? Smokeless tobacco, a habit you enjoy. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. We talked about how freeing that is when you're honest with yourself, right? You're eliminating the excuses. Third question is this: what is remaining undecided already cost me? Not making that decision. What is remaining undecided already cost me? This question matters because we tend to focus only on what the cost of changing is. We rarely calculate the cost of staying the same. What is indecision costing you emotionally, financially, physically, in your relationships? What opportunity is slipping away? What hope is becoming a regret? What confidence are you losing every time you break another promise to yourself? Be honest. 4th question. I love execution, man. I love action. Ask yourself, what action can I take within the next 24 hours? Within the next 24 hours. Not next month. Not on tomorrow. When things calm down. No. Not when you feel ready. What can you do in the next 24 hours that proves the decision has been made? It may be small, but it must be real. Make the call. Send a message. Put it on your calendar. You're trying to lose weight. Take the walk. Take the walk. You're writing a book. Write the first page. Tell someone who will hold you accountable. You see, decisions become powerful when they leave your head and enter your life. You don't need everybody to understand your decision. There will be people who question you. There will be people who remind you of who you used to be. I've lived that. There may be people who become uncomfortable when you begin changing, and that's the thing, right? Think about this. We talk about haters all the time, and that may be a strong word, but the people who are not fully accepting what you're doing or who you're coming, they're coming uncomfortable, right? I say they're jealous. The truth of the matter is, when you begin changing, your change forces them to look at their own choices. That is not your responsibility. It's not. Your responsibility is to be honest about the life you are building. You can listen to wise counsel without surrendering your direction. Look, I can love people, you can love people without allowing them to decide who you are permitted to become. Be grateful for your current life. and still know that sometimes things need to change. Wanting to grow doesn't make you ungrateful. It means you recognize your life is still being built. The danger is, it's not wanting more. The real danger is knowing you were built for more and repeatedly refusing to act, because eventually repeated hesitation becomes identity. You start saying, that is just who I am. I'm not disciplined. I'm not a risk taker. I'm not good with money. This is just the way God made me. Or B, I'm not a speaker. I'm not healthy. I'm not confident. Many of those statements are not identity. They are accumulated evidence from decisions you have not yet made. The beauty of it is, new evidence can be created. One walk creates evidence, right? One difficult conversation can create evidence. That first page of your book creates evidence. One day of keeping your word creates evidence. Then you do it again and again, and eventually you are no longer trying to convince yourself you are changing. You have proof. Look, I don't pretend to know, and I don't know what decisions you're facing today, but I do know this. You may not need more inspiration or motivation. You don't need another plan, a podcast. You may simply need to stop negotiating with what you already know. You may not have every answer today. Probably don't. I don't. I told you we're on this journey together, and you may not know exactly how the next year will unfold or how difficult the path will be. But there's a good chance you already know the next honest decision, the next honest step. Stop calling it confusion when it is really fear. Stop calling it bad timing when the truth of the matter is it's discomfort. Stop calling it patience when you are hiding. You're not stuck. You're standing in front of a decision. Make it. Then take the first step and follow the plan. Follow the plan. That's why I have it tattooed on my arm. Follow the plan. I hope that this made sense to you. I hope it helps you. If you know somebody who needs to hear this, share it with them. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the emails. I appreciate the subscriptions and the likes. And I'm glad that this message these messages are helping you. I want you to find that inner greatness. But at the end of the day, I want to know that you get it. You're not stuck, ladies and gentlemen. You're not. You are just avoiding the decision. My hope is that your week is fantastic. I look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great day.